Hey everybody, Backpack Hack here coming at you with another trail tip to debunk the myth of the quintessential bug out location. There is a common misconception among most non-preppers and many new preppers that as a prepper, you have this bug out location, and when you think of this location, many people will think of it's a shack or a structure or cabin out in the woods. Very remote. It's fully stocked. It's got food, water, guns, ammo, medical supplies, everything you need that if something happens, you just make it to that structure and you're fine. It could be something as simple as a tar paper shack, an abandoned line shack from like the National Forest Service. It could be a luxurious high-end home. Doesn't matter. It's very remote. There is clear running water going right by the front door. All you have to do is walk out, dip a bucket in it. You don't have to boil it, treat it, sterilize it, filter it. It's perfectly safe to drink and use. Right outside the front door. Wildlife is plentiful. So plentiful that you don't even have to go hunting. Wildlife comes up to your door, knocks, and when you open up the door, it says, "Eat me," and drops dead. Now I'm going to show you a photograph of that quintessential, perfect bug out location. That's right, that is BS. Now I'm not saying these don't exist, but when you consider the reality of it, first off, why don't most preppers have this? Simple. We can't afford it. We don't have the money. It's financially impossible for us to be able to buy this piece of land. When you think of a piece of land that is very, very remote, that you can build a structure on it, that has plenty of wildlife, has clear running water, perfectly good soil for growing a garden, fruits, vegetables, you can put trees in it to grow all these abundant supplies. When you think about how rare that kind of land is to start with, how much of that is left that is very, very remote. So there's not much of that property around, and when it does come up for sale, the vast majority of us can't afford it. Now, don't think that there's hundreds of thousands or even millions of these things sprinkled all around the country. Yes, there are some, but when you think of the quintessential bug out location in this description, they just generally don't exist. More to the point, they're either, for those who can't afford to own something like this, it's either a second home, a vacation home. Some hunters have taken old RVs or mobile homes and just drug them out into the woods and dropped them in place. Not to be used as an RV or a mobile home, but simply as a box to get out of the weather and be safe from the wildlife, especially if you're in bear country. There's no running water or flush toilets. There's no stove that works in them. There's no heat or air conditioning. It's just a box. And these can be a bug out location, but generally they're so flimsy that they're really not secure. If you try to load them up with all sorts of foods and guns and ammo and all this other stuff, somebody's going to find it. You are not going to be able to, these days, to build a structure in such a remote location that you would be able to survive there. Don't think that there's not somebody who's going to know about it. Somebody will know about that land. And when shit hits the fan and things start getting bad in the cities are just going to vomit desperate people into the surrounding areas. And no matter how remote you are, hungry people are going to find you. Desperate people are going to find you. And if they find you in this little cabin, they will take what you have. Don't get me wrong. You'd be hard pressed to defend this. Even with a large group, you might be very hard pressed to defend yourself against these marauders who want to take what you have. The other reality is if you are a hunter, stop and think, when was the last time you came back home empty-handed? This is with managed wildlife. And if you don't come home with something, you still can go to the grocery store and get something. So don't think that you're going to go out hunting and provide ample food for you and your family and your other loved ones just by going out and hunting. Trust me, you're not the only one with that idea. When things really get bad and the stores get empty and people are getting desperate to feed their families and their loved ones, the wildlife is going to be decimated because there's nobody out there enforcing the hunting rules and laws and regulations. People are going to hunt wherever they can find an animal. They don't care whether they're on public or private land. They're going to hunt to feed their family. So that huge stock of animals that you're relying on, gone just like that. So even if you have this remote location, you better have a lot of food stocked up because you are not going to go hunting most of the time. So what are your alternatives to this? If you can have a bug out location, that's fine. If you have the financial means to get this perfect, quintessential, ideal, mythical bug out location, more power to you. For the rest of us, what are our options? First off, bunker in. Bunkering in, I think, it should be your primary option, not your only option. Don't always think bunker in, bunker in, bunker in, bunker in. Because bunkering in may put you in a dangerous situation. But it should be your first option. It's going to be where you have your best support. You've got friends, neighbors, family members, church goers, co-workers. You trust them, they trust you. So you've already got some sort of mutual assistance group or mutual aid group already in place. If it comes to the point where you have to leave your home, obviously you want your bug out bag, your bug out vehicle, and you want to have a bug out location. Lacking a specific place that you own, maintain, stock, and control, where can you go? That same group of people that you are going to bunker in with, your neighbors, your friends, your family members, your co-workers, your fellow church members, the people that you sit next to on Sundays. These people are probably going to be your best resource of people who trust you and that you trust them. So I would suggest that you approach some of these people and don't just say, hey, I'm a prepper and I've got all these supplies and I would like to make a kind of an agreement with you that if I can't stay at my house, I can come to yours. I'm not saying just come out and say that, but kind of talk them into saying, well, you remember that accident, maybe it was a flood or a dam break or tornado where people had to move. I would like to know that if something happened like that to my place, I could make it to your place. Would you be willing to put me up for a few days? And don't do that with just one person. Go north, south, east, and west of you and find people that are within walking distance. Find somebody you know that you could drive to their house if needed. And make those same kind of agreements. I've got 6 people that I have made these handshake agreements with. They know that if something happens to me and I need to come their direction, I can go their direction and stay with them for a day or 2. And likewise, they are welcome to come to my place. It may be inconvenient to me. It may be inconvenient to them. But to have those kind of handshake agreements, you're not going to be able to put it in writing because when shit really hits the fan, you're not going to be able to take them to court. It's going to have to be a handshake agreement anyway. So make those kind of agreements with people that will help each other out. If one of us has to leave our home, the other one will help out. And do that in several different directions. Have multiples of those around. This is going to break the myth of, I'm going to go here because I own this property, I've got a cabin, it's fully stocked with food, water, medical supplies, guns and ammo, whatnot. Because that location may not be safe. You may actually be getting closer to danger when you go to that location. You just never know. That's why we're called preppers, because we prepare for as many contingencies as possible. Yes, if money is no object and you could have multiple pieces of property all over your area. Maybe you could own a house 100 miles away, own another one 500 miles away, own another one 1,000 miles away. If you have the wherewithal and the ability to do that, fine, have at it. But for the rest of us, I think considering bunkering in and a mutual aid agreement with somebody else, a mutual aid group with other people is your best option. I think I've covered this subject enough. This is Backpack Hack coming at you. Be sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share my videos. Be safe out there, and I'll see you out on the trail.